What's happening, everybody? Ryan Thomas here, live on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Ryan Thomas here, recapping the Buffalo Bills 42-16 Tuesday night football debacle. I was just down here live, and I was live for about 15 minutes, and I see the comments popping up. I'm reading the comments in regards to the game, and then I get a bunch of comments saying that they couldn't hear me, that it was mute, that, there was nowhere, no audio. And that's not what I want. So I don't know what happened there. My apologies. I'm going back in here and re-sharing the show, re-streaming the show, and I hope you guys enjoy it. It sucks that I was live for 16 minutes. There was a lot of good points there. Hopefully this one is better. Hopefully this one is one you can hear. Please let me know if you can't hear me in advance. Feel free to comment, fire away some comments, which I always read. Someone commented that I never read the comments. I always read the comments on every single show. I don't know what that was all about. But diving into this 42-16 loss, Buffalo Bills 42-16 loss on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast Bills Postgame Show, Week 5. The Bills fall to 4-1. This was, I've watched a lot of really rough Bills games in my day, as have you guys. Anyone that watches this podcast knows and can remember some of the really bad Buffalo Bills games that we have all seen. And I think that, I hate to say this, but this was one of the worst Bills games that I have ever watched. This was a very, very, very tough game to watch. And this was a very tough game for me to hop on here and talk about, because I know a lot of Bills fans hate hearing a lot of negatives. I hate talking about the negatives. Bills fans are such a great group of people that they want to hear about some of the positive thoughts that we have in regards to this game. And I will throw my own spin on that. But at the same time, we have to acknowledge what went down last night. This was a debacle. This was a disaster. This was one of the worst Bills games I've ever seen. I think this is the worst Bills loss in the McDermott era. There have been losses in the McDermott era that were pretty brutal. Against the Baltimore Ravens, Nate Peterman opened that season. It was Week 1. Josh Allen's rookie year, 2018. There was a game against the New Orleans Saints, I believe in 2016 or 17, if my memory serves me right, that was pretty terrible as well. And, I have to say that along the way, I can go back to some J.P. Lossman games, that fumble against the Jets. Sean Ellis, takes it, and the Jets win. It was like 29-32. The Jets won that one. That one stands out to me. The Monday Night Football game against the Dallas Cowboys, where they forced 5 interceptions from Tony Romo, only to lose that game off of Nick Folk's game-winning field goal. I was in middle school at that time, I think, and I didn't go to school the next day. I couldn't sleep. My dad let me skip school the next day. It's always a fun memory to look back on, but this was really bad, guys. This was really bad in terms of what we went in expecting. And I think that is where we went wrong. We went in expecting to see the same old 4-0 Bills move to 5-0, beat a team that hadn't practiced at any rate, unlike anything we had ever seen in NFL history, where the Titans were literally put on ice for 16 days due to the fact they had COVID-19 positive tests popping left and right, coaches, players. I truthfully didn't think this game was going to happen. I didn't think that this game was going to go down. I didn't think that this game would come to fruition. But it did. And unfortunately, I don't have many good things to say about it. But I do want to start off by saying that this show has never received more traffic than what it has over the last 4 or 5 months of me putting this, streaming it on Facebook, streaming it on YouTube, streaming it on my Twitter at Ryan Thomas Take. Each and every guest that I have had on the show, Dave Tilton, Dan Fates, Colt Schroeder, some of the fantasy football guests that I've had on over the last few months as well. The show is doing really well, and it wouldn't be doing well without you guys tuning in and without you guys firing away your comments. So as I put on the Thomas Take ticker, fire away your comments. Fire away what you have to say in regards to this game, and I'd love to hear your take on it. That's what this show is about. I weigh in with my take, you weigh in with your take, and onward and upward. So what went wrong? Where do I start? Really, from the moment this game started, something went wrong. Josh Allen threw a pass to Andre Roberts. Andre Roberts volleyed it up into the hands of Malcolm Butler. And right then and there, I thought, oh boy, I hope this isn't one of those games. One of those games, meaning where nothing goes right, or even when things go right, things go wrong, and then they go wrong again, then they go right, then they go wrong. It's like nothing can ever come to fruition the way that it should. This was just one of those games. And each team in the National Football League faces a game like this where nothing goes right, where everything goes wrong. And this was that game for the Sean McDermott-led Buffalo Bills in the 2020 season. It was only a matter of time before the Buffalo Bills had a game similar to this. Did I think this would happen against the Tennessee Titans? No, I did not. Do I think the Tennessee Titans are a good football team? I think they're a good football team. The Buffalo Bills made them look like the 1985 Bears last night, mixed in with the 2007 New England Patriots on offense. It was ridiculous. And the Bills are better than that. They know that. We know that. So why did that happen? The first thought is that we thought as Bills fans that they would go in there 4-0, guns blazing, make things happen from the jump, just like they had against the Raiders, just like they had against the Dolphins, just like they had against the Rams, just like they had against the Jets, where they got off to these hot starts. And I think there were moments where we saw that same Buffalo Bills offense where they were getting off to a hot start. They were making things happen. But at the same time, anytime something went slightly right, something went horribly wrong. And, you look at the stat line of Josh Allen, you see 26 of 41, 263 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. It's not a great day at the office, but it's not a bad day at the office either for the third-year quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. But this was Josh Allen's worst game this season by far. And it was probably ranked up there, not statistically, but just in terms of moment by moment. This was probably Josh Allen's worst game as a Buffalo Bills quarterback. He made some really bad throws that were too far outside, too high, too short, too long. And obviously he overthrew Gabe Davis, I believe, only for Malcolm Butler, or actually was throwing it to Gabe Davis while Gabe Davis was covered. He forced passes into double coverage. He forced passes into triple coverage. This was not the same guy last night that we have been accustomed to watching leading the Buffalo Bills to this 4-0 start. I think Josh Allen tried to do way too much, tried to throw for touchdowns instead of first downs, and he told us that he wasn't going to do that. He told us that he was going to throw for first downs. He was going to take what the defense gave him and try to move the links, move the chains, move the links down the field. We didn't see that last night. I think we saw Josh Allen that forced things early, and when he finally started to take what the defense gave him, it was too late. At one point, we're moving down the field. Allen's throwing, 5, 6, 7, 8-yard passes, dinking and dunking it everywhere, anywhere he wants. And then I say to myself, well, we're taking up a lot of time off the clock. we are not efficiently moving the football. We are not efficiently moving the football on offense. We are only doing it in a one-dimensional way. And if there is any stat line for last night's game that jumps out at me, it is the simple stat line of Devin Singletary's 11 carries, 25 rushing yards. That is not a recipe for success. Safe to say. This continuous deficient run game that we have seen throughout the first 4 or 5 weeks, we have not seen a consistent run production week from this Buffalo Bills offense all season long. We haven't. And I'm going to dive into that a little bit more as this show progresses, but I look at this team and I see Devin Singletary. I know what Devin Singletary can do. I know that this guy can run. I know that this guy can catch. I know that this guy can make the first man miss. But when the Buffalo Bills finally decide to run the football, it is so painfully obvious to those that are watching at home. I would only assume if it is that obvious to those watching it at home that the Bills are running the football, I'm assuming it's obvious to Mike Vrabel and the Tennessee Titans. And anytime the Buffalo Bills decided to run the football, it was in a painfully obvious running situation. Who does that fall on? If it doesn't fall on Brian Daboll, I don't know who else it falls on. I know Devin Singletary was not in his efficient form that we are accustomed to, but when you're only feeding your running back carries when the defense knows he's getting the ball, it's pretty tough circumstances to put forth an efficient effort. I think we could agree on that, right? I think we can agree on that. So this is one game, and this is a team that is better than what they showed last night. And if there's a silver lining in any of this, we look at Stephon Diggs and the solid wide receiver one day that he had with 10 catches and 106 yards. But I looked at this game early on, and I knew that Allen was going to try to get Stephon Diggs the ball. He was going to try to get the ball to him, but at the same time, he was force-feeding Stephon Diggs. The Titans were taking Stephon Diggs, double covering him, putting him kind of to the side, forcing him to the outside, forcing him away from Josh Allen. And Josh Allen wasn't taking what the defense gave him until the second half when he started to pepper the ball in to Cole Beasley, to Gabe Davis. And that in and of itself, I think, is the best facet of this 4-0 start for the Buffalo Bills, in particular with Josh Allen, is that he mixed the ball around. He spread the ball around. He threw it to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different receivers, where when this game started last night, it was like, is Stephon Diggs the only receiver on this team? I know Diggs is talented. I know Diggs is the wide receiver one on this roster. But Allen was firing it only to Diggs, it seemed. Forcing it into double coverage, forcing it into sometimes triple coverage, forcing it when Stephon Diggs wasn't even ready for the ball yet. The timing just was not there for Josh Allen. This was not Josh Allen last night. This was not the Josh Allen that everyone has been talking about as far as being an early season contender for the MVP. This was a Josh Allen that he looked confused. He looked pressured. He looked somewhat out of his element last night. And I'm not saying that, Josh Allen, I love Josh Allen. I think this guy is next level great. But the Titans, I credit the Titans, and you have to. You have to tip your cap off to the Titans due to the performance that they had in this game last night, due to the fact that they didn't practice for 16 days. This team was on ice. For 16 days in this unprecedented year, the Tennessee Titans had more positive COVID tests than any team in the league thus far. And then some. 23, 24, what was it? Somewhere around there. positive COVID tests. And the Titans just said to themselves, their rationale, their thought process, their thinking was, we're just going to go in there, we're going to try like hell and give it our best. We win, we win, we lose, we lose. Whereas the Buffalo Bills, in my opinion, rode into the bright lights of Nashville and said, we're 4-0, we got our swagger, this offense is firing on all cylinders, we're better than this team, we can beat this team. That was the attitude that I felt prior to this game happening, and that was the attitude that I saw last night early on in this game. Now, once the game got out of hand and the Titans started to run away with it, that's when I started to see the Bills begin to show that effort. And in a valiant effort, Josh Allen threw one of his worst passes that I have ever seen. And that can happen. That can happen. Mistakes were made last night. I'd like to think that the Bills will use this as a massive learning experience for the Week 6 battle with the Kansas City Chiefs. I tell you, Bills fans, if you think that the Tennessee Titans offense was tough on us, this is the best offense in the league and one of the best offenses in this generation of football. Greatest show on grass, greatest show in Arrowhead, whatever you want to call it, the Kansas City Chiefs, reigning world champion offense, and their defense is getting better as well, whereas Buffalo's defense, I mean, talk about the Bills' defense being a concern, but there is a caveat to that. Last night, Trey White not out there, and I know it's one guy, and I hate saying one guy was not out there, and I will get to your comments. One guy was not out there. I hate saying that. But when you have Josh Norman lined up against A.J. Brown, and then you have the depth, the great Marv Levy said, depth is always a need until you have to use it. And the Buffalo Bills had to use their depth in a game that they were just outmatched when using their depth. The depth was not good enough against the starters of the Tennessee Titans. And that is a depth problem that, will take 2021, 2022 to get that shored out. But this Bills defense, there's a caveat to all this, and I know that the Bills defense is a concern, but the greatest part about that is Sean McDermott knows that. I watched Sean McDermott talk to the media today. Bills head coach Sean McDermott talked to the media today, and I liked what he had to say in regards to this defense. We are far from where we need to be. We have to get our legs underneath us. We got to get our heads right. We got to go back to the drawing board. Those are all the things that a head coach is supposed to say. But in the process of that, it was reassuring to me as a fan, and obviously covering the team on this podcast, to hear the coach of this roster, of this team, I should say, weigh his frustrations about this defense, because this defense can't stop the run as well as they could before. And this team certainly can't pressure the quarterback as well as they could before. And the secondary was targeted. Going into this game, I thought Derrick Henry was going to be the real force, the real threat in this game. He was not. He had 2 touchdowns, but Derrick Henry could have ran all over the Buffalo Bills if the Tennessee Titans enacted that game plan. I think that's the game plan that the Titans, or that the Bills expected from the Titans. That's the game plan that the Titans knew that the Bills might think they'll bring. So the Titans just said, let's kind of turn this on the inside out a little bit, spread things out, force this banged up secondary to cover anyone we put out on the field, whether it's A.J. Brown, Jonnu Smith, Corey Davis, whoever it is. And the Bills couldn't do that. So I think this defense, the main concern for me is the defense in regards, as far as the defense goes, the main concern is Tremaine Edmonds. I don't know if Tremaine Edmonds is a middle linebacker. I have said this on the show multiple times. I've said this right here on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Join the takeover. Got the koozies available. Hit me up if you want one. The fact is, I don't know if Tremaine Edmonds is a middle linebacker. I think he is an extremely athletic player. I think the sky is the limit, but I don't think he is in the right spot on this defense. I think if Buffalo got a thumping middle linebacker, somebody that could stuff the middle, somebody that could play the gap, play that middle spot, put Edmonds on the outside with Milano if he is extended, which I think he will be. I think we all have learned how important Matt Milano is to this defense, at least a player like Matt Milano in this defense. And I think there needs to be some shakeup there. I don't want to say I've seen enough, but I've seen enough to know that Edmonds is regressing at that spot, at least in this season so far. Who's to say that he won't progress and, we'll flush this tank, we'll flush this take down the toilet. So let's see here. Sam Mazza says, are you concerned about the overall team or just the defense? I am concerned about the overall team, Sam. I mean, after a loss like that, how are you not concerned by the overall team, given that the team put forth an effort like that, rested on their laurels, I think, heading into this one? I hate saying that. I don't want to say that. I don't want to think that the Bills headed into this game too big for their britches, but 42-16 in a football game, a lot of things can go wrong, but at the same time, not much went right. And when things went wrong, it was as if the Bills were in quicksand. Rather than, staying still, they started moving and they were sinking. Anytime they tried to do too much, it just backfired. And I don't want to see that again. I don't want to see that type of football again from my Buffalo Bills. And your Buffalo Bills, our Buffalo Bills, rooting for this team for our entire lives. We've seen a lot of bad football, 17 years of no playoffs. But this team in particular is better than that. Do you think McD will call the defense, Sam says, like the same episode we had last season? That is an interesting question. I think Sean McDermott highly trusts Leslie Frazier. I think there's a lot of reason to trust Leslie Frazier, given the success that this defense has had previously. But, we're here week 6 now. We're 4-1. We're in a really good spot. I wouldn't blow the roof off of this thing just yet. If things get ugly next week and we get trounced by the Kansas City Chiefs, which could happen, I think that's when we could see some sort of change in terms of who is calling those plays. So let's see here. Corleone 914. The Bills defense is the problem. They are garbage. Softest defense I have seen in a while here. And that's the thing. I don't think this defense is as bad as they've played, but they've not found the rhythm. They've not found that same Buffalo Bills identity on the defensive side of the ball that they have found on the offensive side of the ball. What is the identity of this defense? Is it the secondary? Is it the defensive line? Is it the linebackers? There's no identity on this defense right now. For a defense that returned, 10 starters? What is the identity of this defense? I don't even think, the most diehard Buffalo Bills fan would admit right now that I think they would admit right now that this defense just doesn't have an identity. And it's a scary place to be in. It really is. Really scary place to be in. Dean Jr. says, would you make a trade for or sign a free agent linebacker defensive tackle? I would. I would make a trade for a player, but that's me. That's Ryan Thomas, high profiling, kiss stealing, wheeling, dealing son of a gun as the general manager. Brandon Beane is more of a realistic professional in that regard than I am, obviously. So I think Brandon Beane will kind of try to make tweaks to the roster. Maybe they sign a few free agents that are some of the mid-tier level guys that have had starting experience. We've seen that. We've seen the Bills add players throughout a season, midway through the season, week 5, week 6. I don't think a trade is going to happen. I don't think a big trade will happen for the Bills during this season. I think the Bills are kind of comfortable with what they have, but I think anytime they can make an addition via free agency, maybe they go out and get a lower tier guy, not a big name, but somebody that is a name that maybe started. It's really tough without knowing what is out there really right now. I'm not too keen on really cycling through some of the free agents that are currently available. But guys, I've had Bills fans say to me, you got to look at some of the positives in this game. What positives were there? And to Giovanni Ubina's point, where is the running game? And I will throw a wrinkle into this. The best part about the night, Giovanni, was this news that Le'Veon Bell was released by the Jets. And the first thought that entered my mind, not that the Jets won't have Le'Veon Bell, but that another team will have Le'Veon Bell. Me personally, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it. I've said it all day today, and I'm going to say it again. I would love to have Le'Veon Bell here as a member of the Buffalo Bills. I think it would be a great addition to this team. Maybe the Buffalo Bills regime is not too keen on bringing in a diva like Le'Veon Bell. He's been labeled a diva, but I don't think he is a diva. I think he's a player that wanted what he felt he was worth. He got it, and got $28 million to play in 18 games, running for 3.3 yards a carry on the last 2 seasons for the New York Jets. I think he knows that his value has taken a hit, and he knows that his career is not winding down, but he's definitely at the later point of it. This is a small window opportunity here for him to land on a team that is built as positively as the Bills are right now, and is a team that I think would highly benefit from a player like Le'Veon Bell, highly benefit from a player like him. I think he would be great for Josh Allen. I think he'd be great for this offense, and I think it would be a great choice for Le'Veon Bell in his career to go to Buffalo. I think the guy's still got a ton of talent. I think the New York Jets are a dumpster fire, and that was a large reason as to why the success wasn't really quite there. Eric Morrison says, no running game, no pass rush whatsoever, and really bad penalties to shoot themselves in the foot, especially in big situations. And Eric took the words right out of my mouth, talking about the bad penalties. The bad penalties, to say the least. The false starts, the Quentin Jefferson unnecessary roughness penalty. You are a vet. You meaning Quentin Jefferson in this scenario. You are a vet in this league, and you throw out a penalty like that. There is no place in the game for penalties like that as a veteran. Even as a rookie. A.J. Epinesa last night, he jumps off sides. Sean McDermott, he pulled him the hell out of there. Did you guys notice that? I noticed it. As soon as A.J. Epinesa jumped off sides, he was out. He was benched. Rightfully so. You can't do that at this level. Whether you're a rookie or not, you just can't do that. And Epinesa did that. And he was punished for it. And rightfully so. We got... Sam says, I agree. He's not the old Bell with the Steelers. He's got more humbled. I would say so too. I think he really just wanted to get paid by somebody, and the New York Jets are the only team dumb enough to do it. It was a terrible signing in terms of the situation of the player and the situation of the team molding together. They never molded together, ever. I went out on a limb saying it was one of the worst decisions I could ever remember a high-profile free agent making when Le'Veon Bell went to the New York Jets. And I'm happy to say that I was right, because I think the Jets will be better off without him. He's not a fit there. Le'Veon Bell will be better off without the Jets, of course. And I think his next stop will be a much better stop for his career. Vito Rosario Jr. says, we don't need Le'Veon Bell. He wants Christian Wade instead. I love Christian Wade. I think he's a great story, but I would take Le'Veon Bell over Christian Wade in terms of NFL running back prowess. I don't know about you guys, but that's how I see that. Le'Veon Bell is a rare commodity in this league at the running back position, and when a player like that becomes available, you got to at least throw out an offer. Bill Claremont Jr., what's up, buddy? He says, forcing the ball to Diggs a little too much. That second pick was ugly, but this loss brings us back down to earth. Let's play KC hard. Defense, please show up. Go Bills. I couldn't have said it better myself, and that is the last topic to end the show tonight, which is, what can the Bills learn from this loss? What they can learn from this loss is stick to the basics. Stick to their identity. Try not to force things from an early on point in the game, trying to force it way too much, whether it's Josh Allen throwing the ball, whether it's forcing it to Stephon Diggs. I think there is a lot to learn in this game, and the Bills have to find a way. They have to find a way to establish the run game. They have to find a way to pressure the opposing quarterback. If they can't do that throughout this season, they'll be lucky to make the playoffs. You have to do those two things in order to consistently win in this league. You can't just be a pass-happy offense. You can't. Even the Kansas City Chiefs, they pass 60, they run 40, talking percentage-wise, but you got an efficient play caller in Andy Reid. You have efficient running backs in Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Previously, guys like Damian Williams, Kareem Hunt. I think my biggest criticism of Brian Daboll this season thus far is not even a situational play calling like it was in years past, but his run play calling. The plays themselves in which the Bills run, the exact play design, does not suit Devin Singletary's skill set. They need Zach Moss back. If they can't get him back, if Zach Moss has a lingering injury, I don't know why you don't take a run at Le'Veon Bell. And that's that. I'm excited to see what takes place next week. We got a big opponent, the Kansas City Chiefs. This is the cream of the crop. This is the best team in football. This is the defending world champions. Trying to defend it, trying to get back, trying to win another one. Bill's got some work to do. I'm Ryan Thomas. It was the Thomas Take. Take care.